All right, and we are rolling. Another interview with a local author. Today we have David Simmons, and we met at the Kensington Day of the Book Festival. It's a pleasure to interview you and your work.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I know, it's a pleasure. I saw your books. I saw your table. You had this awesome setup, by the way.
Thank you.
But I wanted to begin with, I guess, walking me through the journey before writing. So getting to writing.
Like how I got into writing?
Yeah, about yourself, just a journey,
sure. Well, I would say the earliest age I got into writing, my mom put a bunch of Stephen King books in my hand when I was like 8 or 9 years old or something like that. Cujo, The Shining, It, and all that. And I've just been infatuated with horror books, horror movies since that time. As far as writing, I ain't start writing till 2021, so 4 years ago. And
really?
that was only off like a fluke for real, man. Like I wrote a story and I sent it to my wife, right? And I just wrote a story and I sent it to her and she was like, "This is good. What are you gonna do with it?" Because my wife, she's about making things happen, you know what I'm saying? She is a hustler's mentality. So it's like, what are you gonna do with it? So I was like, I don't know. So I looked into where to submit stories to. And I submitted it to a place and they bought the joint. So I was like, oh, I can write.
Awesome.
I was like, this is cool.
That's some serious validation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, I can do something that I love, that I genuinely would do for free all the time, just for myself and to get paid for it. That's what kicked it off for me. Yeah.
Well, we got to show these books, by the way.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank you. Before we forget, here you go.
Yep.
So Ghosts of East Baltimore.
Yep, that's the first one.
First one.
And then the sequel.
There you go.
Ghosts of
West Baltimore.
Yes.
Very cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's pretty awesome. That was not that long ago.
Nah.
To get some serious validation. But did you feel that before then that you could write?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. I had ideas, but I didn't know like if those ideas should be made as a song or a story or a book or a rap or a rap beat or some type of. I didn't know what medium it was gonna be in. I always felt I enjoyed language. I've been a big reader, so I feel like, I could do it, or try it at least. That's what made me try it. But no, I didn't know how I wanted to express myself, what medium, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Very nice. So what led you to, I guess, the first book?
So the first book was because after I sold that first short story, I sold a couple more. And then I started getting some rejections. That happens a lot too. You get a lot of rejections. So it's important to know that's part of it, but you keep moving. It don't matter, you keep pushing your shit. And then I wanted to write a novel because it's one thing to have short stories, but it would be cool to write a book, right? And I was really, really influenced by an author named J. David Osborne. And he's an amazing weird horror crime fiction author. I was really inspired by a collection of his called Our Blood in Its Blind Circuit. And I wanted to write a book that made me feel like that, right? That made me feel like a crime novel, but it ain't straight crime. It goes a little bit off the rails. It gets a little bit supernatural, some crazy shit happen. You're like, what? It just catches you off guard. And am I not supposed to be cursing in
No,
it?
you're fine.
All right, cool. But so I thought about that. So I wanted to do something, an offbeat crime novel. And so I wrote it. And then I realized I didn't want anybody else to publish it except Broken River Books, who is J. David Osborne's publishing company, who he's published some other authors with and himself. So after I wrote the book, I reached out to him on Twitter. I had never talked to him before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yo, I wrote this shit because of your joint, like this, and like, so you know that I ain't like just nobody, right? Like, here's some stories I've sold in some pro-rate magazines and and stuff. So, you know, I'm not a, you know, not to say I'm anybody important, but I'm serious about my craft is what I was trying to convey to him. So I sent it to him, and he said he'd read it, and he came back to me and said he wanted to publish it. And it was on from there. Yeah. So for me, it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book to be put out by Broken River Books. I wanted J. David Osborne he ended up editing it for me, and edited this one too. I wanted him to be involved, so I set out to do that, and we ended up doing it, and then did the sequel afterwards.
That's so awesome, dude.
Thank you. I didn't know this was gonna happen though when I was writing this. I thought this was gonna be the end.
Right.
I didn't know. I just didn't want to leave the characters. I had fallen in love with a lot of the characters in the book. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready to start some new shit yet. So
can you tell me about the influences of the story? And maybe your past or present.
Yeah, as far as like on this. Absolutely. So I wanted to write a book about Baltimore that took place in Baltimore and played off the fact of some things I've seen in Baltimore. And what I mean, so, you know, I'm gonna just break it down. Basically, I have seen situations in Baltimore where a great crime has been committed or is being committed. And the police roll up, slow down, hit the lights on the crime, and roll away. Okay, that's what they do. Like a crime that in Montgomery County, where we are here, they would be immediately calling in 10 or 15 squad cars. You already know. So I thought to myself, I said, oh my goodness, horror movies and books don't have to be in some isolated farmhouse or in some village with no people in it. You could have a horror book right in the middle of the city, and the police are going to drive by. So it like answers the question, like how could you have a monster or a drug dealer in a mecha suit, right? Like shooting people in the middle of like downtown. Well, because I've seen some wild shit happen where the police just rode by. So I wanted to play off that. I really wanted to play off that lack of caring that the police have for the, because a lot of them don't even live in the city, you know what I mean? They're from other counties. And so I wanted to play off that, not necessarily picking on them, but taking that environment. And so that's what inspired me, just the spark, the idea of you can write a horror story in the city, in broad daylight, out in public. How would you do it? You put it in a city where people look away. And it's not just the police, man. People are constantly looking away. I seen shit this morning on the way to you where they looked away. I seen somebody throw the biggest bag of trash out the window of their car. Just the biggest bag of trash. And I'm not knocking on Baltimore, not saying it's dirty with trash. I'm just saying that there's a culture of looking away, right? So I wanted to have my monsters be in a city where the police would look away, the people would look away, and I would say
like
that.
something that's real that you're actually seeing. Exactly.
And the other part too is I did a lot of research about Baltimore because I didn't know the history of Baltimore at all. So I was down at like the Enoch Pratt Library and shit, like reading they old like micro whatever it's called files and old newspapers, and like you look at like a lot. Baltimore has like some very dark history as far as redlining and racial segregation through like real estate listings where certain people couldn't live next to other people, like where people were isolated in zones where tuberculosis was rampant because of their race. Like there's all of that, and then you just build on top of it, you feel me? And I just thought that maybe when you build on top of all those ghosts, you know what I'm saying, like it could cause a problem. You know, you got Stephen King writing like stuff about like Native American burial grounds, and you bury your pet there and they come back, like Pet Cemetery, and that's cool. And I would never knock that. He's the king for real, no pun intended. But you could also have those sort of ghosts and spirits under a city. You keep building on top of that shit.
Yeah, just to hide it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely to hide it. Yeah.
Wow. So how has authorship been? Because you only started in 2021.
Right.
Yeah. How has that journey been? That experience been?
It's very interesting and wonderful and fulfilling. The people in the various writing communities have all been extremely pleasant, helpful. It's very different than some other subcultures, right? Not to say it's not competitive, but I've had authors who I looked up to, like the guy I just mentioned, who will be like, yo, I like your shit, I want to help you blow up. And it's like, what? You don't see that in lots of things. You don't see that in business, honestly. Yeah. You see somebody that's up and coming in certain business, you try to knock them down so they don't take your spot. So the literary world has been the opposite of that. And
that's awesome.
The one thing I've noticed that's very interesting is in the literary world, in writing, the friendliest, and I'll say most safe, the place I felt most comfortable bringing my kids around, right, and my wife, I'll say the most helpful, if I didn't mention it, is the extreme horror community.
Really?
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like the guys who write, like Brian Keene, Aaron Beauregard, B.R. Yeager, Charlene Ellsby, people who write some very, very gruesome, violent stuff. They're actually the it's just funny. They're the kindest and nicest and most helpful people. And you'd read their stuff and you'd be like, they must actually be killing people somewhere. But nah, exactly. It ain't like that at all. So I found the horror community to be really cool. Yeah, unexpectedly cool. Yeah.
Maybe because they're being more honest with feelings in their own stories and bringing it from their past, and then so they feel relieved, in release. So everyone else is just hiding their true monstrosities in the closet,
That's interesting.
And that's why they're
honest.
Weird, But then people who are in that scene, they're a lot more calm,
Sure, because they being themselves and they not holding back. That's interesting. I never thought about that. That could definitely be what it is.
I think having a place where you're comfortable or knowing that you're not hiding. It was something that's interesting. I used to be a volunteer at a correction facility, and one of the safest places I felt was probably being a room of 30 different other men that you don't know what crimes have been committed or alleged against them, but just felt completely calm and at ease and safe.
Interesting.
In the same kind of environment where they'll tell you, hey, if something goes down in that room, you just have to stay in that room, and because the doors are locked from the outside in, until there's enough COs to come in. Right. So they're basically saying that if something goes down, you're on your own.
You're taking that risk.
But that's one of the safest environments I've ever been. People just men being honest and being open and vulnerable, and people around them being extremely understanding. And I just, those classes I would give was just, hours would go by. 2 hours would go by, and you just didn't know that it just flew by.
Because they're all in the same boat.
Everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Everyone's being no one's hiding anything.
Right.
And people being honest with the feeling. They know they're all there. And I think just being around individuals where you are, you feel safe. They're making you feel safe because they're being honest. It's having a conversation with somebody that someone's being really honest with you.
Right.
You feel safe because to open up as well because they've opened up.
Yeah.
Compared to being in a community where you feel that people are hiding, or
the language is deceptive.
Exactly.
You can feel that they're using it. The energy is
off. Yeah. I think there's this his quote from his one rap song. I'm forgetting the artist right now, but he goes he basically says you're saying all the right things, you're doing all the right things, but that energy, I'm just not feeling you, right? So some people you're talking to them.
Yeah.
You're just you know what? You might be saying all the right things, but that energy you're giving off just isn't right. Something's off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You see that a lot. And that exact feeling that you're describing, that thin veil of superficial realness, which isn't real, and then what's behind them is... I haven't seen that in writing. It's weird. I've seen that in life, in business. I've seen that in a lot of different venues, but I
Yeah.
don't see that in the writing world. And maybe it does have something to do even with all genres of writing.
Yeah.
It has something to do with how you express your art.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, write, even if they don't write nonfiction, a lot of them write some of their personal feelings and experiences in your fiction, So that can make you your art is vulnerable, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you're also putting your art out there for people to judge, and that's what everyone's doing.
That's it.
Either they're loving it or they're hating it. But I have found a sense of community, a sense of acceptance within the writing world.
Yeah.
Where I tell all the authors, recommend them to send their information to me so for us to promote, and they're always open to recommending people. So I like the idea of putting someone else on and paying it forward.
Right.
I think that's something that's really needed in our community or our society as a whole to
Yeah.
pay it forward. Give that favor to someone else. Don't try to hold it for yourself and hide it like you would see in the business world
And you do. You
yeah.
see in other venues where they don't want to name somebody else because it takes away from them.
Right.
No, I want you to find out about some of these same authors that got me into doing this stuff because I want you to be excited like I am. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, but that's an awesome, story to get to publishing, and also, but starting so much. I don't say later in life, but there's others that they've been writing their entire life and trying to publish their entire life, but for you to just come across this medium and all of a sudden just literally be validated and being a success in it, that's awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's also a really fun way to express yourself through art. And something else you said that was interesting, you put your stuff out there for everybody to judge. Mm-hmm. I appreciate any type of judgment of my work because reading a book is a commitment, especially nowadays. You and I have talked about this before. And if somebody put a day or 6-8 hours or whatever into knocking out one of my books and then go on Amazon and be like, this shit was terrible. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll get you next time, but I appreciate you spending damn near a day of your life reading my shit. Right. It's not the same thing as somebody putting on a song 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, or a TikTok, 30 seconds. You feel me? Somebody had to put work into it. So I appreciate everybody who reads my stuff. So I appreciate the investment with that.
So how has how has the feedback been from writers or from readers? I'm
very grateful to say that the feedback has been majority positive. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think if there's. I haven't really had any negative feedback, but I haven't had any negative feedback about my work. But I will tell you, how should I say this? If I did not have published stories before, and this is no reflection on J. David Osborne or on any other publishers, but if I didn't have my published stories in the prorate venues and shit like that, it would have been very hard. Right. What I mean is, all that shit I just told you about acceptance and helping and all that, you gotta establish yourself. So what I mean to say is, I don't think I would have gotten good or bad feedback if I didn't establish myself. I think I would have, if I self-published this, is what I'm saying, I think I would have put it out into the void. I think I would have gotten 2 or 3 reviews, whether they'd have been positive or negative wouldn't have mattered. I think making a name for yourself on your own and then going with the publisher, I think is important. And I think the positive feedback I've had has a lot to do with that too. Not just the content, but not just throwing it out into a void. Making sure it's edited properly, making sure it's marketed properly. You know what I mean? Right. So. Very nice. Yeah. Thank you. I definitely get that because I've heard, because there are self-published authors and others have gone through publishers. So there's definitely and some of them do great. There's a author, I mentioned him already, Aaron Beauregard. He does extreme horror. He self-publishes and he does very well. So it's not to knock people on that, but everybody's journey is different, and that's not what mine was, and I don't necessarily recommend the I don't know if it'll work for everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, to be with the goal of being a
a very successful.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
author.
that we need some help. I think I don't know about metadata and marketing, just like the person who's published my books doesn't know about the Maryland prison system. You feel me?
Right,
Like
right.
I do, and I wrote about it in here, and I don't know how to market that, but they do. So you bring people in to help you with the things that you don't know. I don't know how to do cover art, so you hire a cover artist.
Yeah, well,
type
so I was
shit,
gonna
you know?
bring that up too. It does look very nice.
Thank you.
I do
man.
like it. Yeah.
This is A.A. Medina. He's a cover artist. He does a lot of graphic work. He on Twitter, or X or whatever, it's at Fabled Beast. FABLEDBEAST. If y'all like the art, he did both the covers. I really enjoyed his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, how about a pitch to who would enjoy these novels?
Sure. So, if you're a fan of, we'll say, like, weird horror, dark crime fiction, movies like Mandy or The Strangers, or shows like The Wire, or movies like Barbarian or Longlegs, or that type of vibe, but with a Maryland feel, with a Baltimore feel, that's what my writing is. It's a bit of cosmic horror, like the video game Bloodborne, mixed with, fast-paced action thriller, like the movie Crank. You know what I mean? Fast-paced action. I'm giving y'all a lot of comps in different movies and things like that, because people watch a lot of movies. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I'd say. Anybody who likes a fast-paced crime horror read, I would say, and it's pretty violent and shocking too, but not too crazy. Not
Yeah,
too
that's
crazy.
crazy,
I'd
yeah.
say. Not too bad.
So what's next? I think I don't know if you want to mention the audiobooks or not.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
so this one is gonna be out on Audible in about a month. So
that's soon.
yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
this,
awesome.
So
yeah.
actually, excuse me, not August. So
August,
that's
yeah.
2 months. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's August. I have a book coming out with Apocalypse Party. That's a publisher. It's called Eradicator. And then I have a collection of short stories that comes out next year with Clash Books called Fetty on the Switches. So I have a novel and then I have a short story collection coming out.
Very cool.
Different publishers than who I work with here, who's Broken River Books. And I think that's also a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Work with different publishers based on what you and that publisher can create together. And those other books and collections are different from these, so it goes with them a little better, the other publishers.
Very nice. Man, I'm talking about talented.
Thank you, man.
Keep up putting out work.
Appreciate you, man.
Have you ever heard about having the success of your first project and then being afraid of the follow-up success?
Yeah, of course, man.
Or the fall off,
Absolutely. That happens to rappers in their albums all the time.
Oh,
they
yeah.
go super hard on their first album. You never hear nothing again after that.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
One-hit
man.
wonders, they call them. Yeah.
Right, of course. Can't live up to that first thing. I was doubly concerned because this Ghosts of West Baltimore is a sequel, and sequels usually don't perform as well as a standalone, book. So I was worried about that, but I wasn't going to let it stop me because, like I said, I selfishly did not want to leave the characters in this book. Like, it wasn't about that. Like, when I talked to everybody at Broken River and they were like, all right, what's next, right? I was like, oh, well, I'm not done with the characters yet, so I got to write more. They were like, oh, all right. And that's what I wanted to do. So, I was worried about it, but I'll say not concerned because in the end, I'm going to write what I want to write. And if I make enough money off the writing to buy a new pair of J's, that's cool. If I make enough money off the writing to feed my family, that's even better. But I'm still going to write the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so no, I want to shoot that something. I just wanted to do it.
Is this a conclusion to this series?
It is. Yeah,
Okay,
it
there you
is.
go.
See, in Baltimore, although this doesn't actually make sense from a geography standpoint, Baltimore only has 3 sections. It has East Baltimore, West Baltimore, and South Baltimore. There's no real North Baltimore. There's downtown, and then the nice areas like Roland Park that's kind of running to Towson, and then you're in the county, right? So East Baltimore has an identity, West Baltimore has an identity, and South Baltimore does, and I just don't know too much about South Baltimore, and I was done with the characters at that point. So yeah, this was the conclusion to that.
Very nice. Okay, so we covered what's next. So how can people connect with you, follow you, support you?
Sure.
How can they be there?
All right, so you can follow me on X. It's Whole Time David, WHOLETIMEDAVID. Same thing on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. That's Top Dog Hill, TOPPDOGGHILL. And not to sound cliche, but if you search my name, you'll see the stories and things that are available online for free, books I have out, and interviews and things I've done. You just search my name, David Simmons.
Yeah, well,
and then I'm in bookstores like the one we're at right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Ellie and Kensington Row.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely visit here. Definitely buy from here, and show your support. Thank you for her to host these interviews for sure.
They're the best.
But looking forward to the I guess definitely what's next, and if the next novel that does come out, I would love to do a follow-up interview.
I'd love to as well.
And I'm gonna personally, because I haven't read the books yet, because I've been just running through these interviews. But I'm gonna read these books.
Of course.
And we're gonna do a follow-up interview. That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
We'll be in contact.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
Let's get it. Cool.